we gather to really look at three main topics. One, relationship interaction with the World Bank as it evolves into an organization that's changing with the times and committing to help us meet our development goals. In addition, I think we'll talk a bit about electricity access. We know how critical that is, and some aspects of financial integration, because along with the African continental trade agreement, an important aspect of that is the financial flows. And I also feel that, very much alongside my colleague Ken Ofori-Atta, Minister of Finance of Ghana, that we could do better with our financial muscle as central banks, as countries that have substantial reserves, which have to be kept somewhere and could be probably better utilized to enable us to meet our development goals. But the context is that we're meeting against a backdrop of global and localized challenges across the region. Of course, we're trying to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, and we have a range of macroeconomic challenges across our countries, and it's still quite a sobering picture. But I think I will not go too deeply into that, because it's obvious that it is against the backdrop of these challenges that we must forge ahead and try and deal with our development challenges alongside what I will refer to as a trusted partner in the World Bank. And I say that advisedly. I think, as was pointed out by one of my colleagues yesterday, that yes, we benefit from the funding that the bank has available, and I must say here that we are looking forward to a substantial either replenishment, which provides us additional concessional financing. Yes, we do have that access to financing, but more than that, as a partner, the bank has cross-country experience. It has empirical research and a sort of history that we can share and enable us as we make decisions to benefit from what has come before and from examples in other countries. So in addition to financing, we've also we are grateful for the thought leadership that the bank does bring to bear. And of course, as a partner, it provides us with ready access to its, particularly Nigeria, I must say, provides us with ready access to the resources it has, the human resources, the personnel are ever ready to assist us. And we very much value that. So on that note, on a very positive partnership, a very positive relationship, I look forward to us engaging frankly and robustly to discuss the agenda items that we sort of put before us, and anything else that is on the minds of my fellow ministers from West and Central Africa. So on that note, with those great words, I once again welcome you all, and to the extent that we are being formal, I first of all like to welcome my fellow and co-chair of this occasion, Mr. Usman Diagana, Regional Vice President for West and Central Africa of the World Bank Group. And then I'd like to declare this all-important meeting now formally open. Thank you. We met again in July 2022 under the leadership of African head of state in Senegal to launch the Agenda 20 in Africa. Recently, in Cabo Verde, the World Bank and other governments met under the leadership of the Vice Prime Minister, my friend Ola here, to discuss new modalities and mechanisms to finance economic development in Africa. Today, we come together at a time when many countries in our region are facing a food crisis of sustainability issues, climate change, and a changing global financial architecture, macroeconomic fragility, and food security. Since our last meeting in Cabo Verde, our region unfortunately has continued to face several events that are not always conducive for improving or sustaining or strengthening some of the gain that has been achieved by the country before the COVID. Among those unfortunate events, I would like in particular to insist on several points that whose effects have rippled across the board. Unfortunately, because of this context, crisis is the new norm, and we need to double down on effort to remain engaged in situations of political turmoil and insecurity. We have a duty to support the country and to protect the population. Progress and admission made over the past 2 decades in reducing extreme poverty has virtually been eroded over the last several years. Confronting these problems in Europe, innovative, swift, and bold response. In Africa West, those obviously the crises are multi-dimensional. This is the region which faces so many issues, but it's also a region where there is a lot of potential, fueled by unbridled dynamism. This is evident in its use, innovation, and also resilience. Within the next decade, Africa will have the world's largest workforce, surpassing China and India. By the 2040s, it will account for 2 out of every 5 children born on the planet. So, while we look forward to the region issues and difficulties, let us also not lose sight of its potential. So this event gives us an opportunity to discuss all those elements. So the continent is changing, but also I would like to mention that the bank, the institution, your institution is also changing. And we believe from Anna, but also from our colleagues, connected from Washington to the presentation to give you some elements of the change and also the direction that the bank is taking in order to strengthen what it has been doing for many decades, but also to adjust and taking into consideration the new developments that we are observing globally. And one of the big reasons also behind this event today is that our work as an institution doesn't exist independently. And we cannot do it obviously alone or in the dark. We need the embodied voice of you, our client, our partner, and we certainly look forward to the rich discussion that we have and we all work together towards the same goal of providing a better life for the citizens of the West and Central Africa. So thanks again, for this opportunity.
We're here with you when you succeed, but we're also here when challenges arise. Not just when it's convenient, and certainly not just to issue a statement, but really we want to work hand in hand with you towards the very best achievable results for the long-term prosperity of your countries. That is really the World Bank's raison d'être. This is why we seek an even stronger engagement with you going forward to give you the priority, the partnership, and the investments, both finance and knowledge, I should emphasize, that you need. Your voice really matters, and Usman laid this out quite nicely. On 2 previous occasions, you have come together to tell us what your priorities and pressing concerns are. The 2021 Abidjan Declaration and the 2022 Dakar Call for Action were really important to secure IDA 20 record replenishment. They put a uniquely African high-level stamp on the important process and sent a strong message that the ambitions and financing needs of African people are high and need support. Your voices, advocacy, joint statements, and intellectual contributions were particularly critical to shaping the IDA 20 agenda. Key issues like the jobs agenda, fragility, regional integration were prioritized as a direct result of your collective advocacy. I'm acutely aware that the world today faces multiple challenges, and many of these have outsized effects and impacts on your countries and on the populations of your countries. Conflict and insecurity, disruptions to the global trade and financing system, and high levels of debt make for an incredibly challenging environment. Yet the reality is that a lot is happening in the region. Through our engagement, we have been able to support impressive progress and results at a regional scale. Energy access is an excellent example of what can be accomplished. It is also an issue that African leaders have prioritized. Since 2000, access to energy has more than doubled across Africa. Yet, despite significant investment and progress, at the current pace, close to 600 million Africans are likely to remain without electricity by 2030, with 2/3 of those living in countries currently classified as fragile or conflict affected. Together, we can do better. To reach universal electricity access by the end of the decade, the rate of electricity access growth would need to triple. But this is doable, and the World Bank Group is ready to accompany you in the journey from ambition to reality, including through deep macroeconomic, energy sector, and utility reforms, and through the co-creation of innovative and scalable solutions with the private sector, catalyzing the power of the One World Bank Group and in partnership with the development financing community. Take Nigeria, our host, for example, where 85 million people still lack access to electricity, but where our level of ambition is proportional to this size of challenge. Together with the government, we're committed to expanding access to over 17 million unserved and underserved rural Nigerians through distributed renewable energy solutions. And we can build on regional integration efforts, such as the West African Power Pool, which was established 25 years ago to extend the benefits of clean and affordable energy across the continent. We estimate that with about 30 billion in IDA support through 2030, that's about $5 billion a year, the World Bank Group could facilitate access to 300 million people by the end of the decade across Africa, including 100 million in Africa, West and Central. That's real impact, and it counts on public resources, but also the convening and mobilization of the private sector, as well as domestic resources. But this would be a real turning point to get all these people access to electricity. This is just one example of the transformational impact we could envisage together. We can build on this to accelerate progress also in other sectors to overcome the most pressing development challenges affecting countries while creating jobs and opportunities for all. Digitalization is possibly one of the most transformative efforts for the African continent. Under the Digital Economy for Africa initiative, we together committed to double broadband penetration over 5 years from 2016 to 2021. But in fact, we tripled it. This was made possible through country-specific reforms and investments and through regional projects such as West Africa Regional Communications Infrastructure Project, which increased geographic reach of broadband networks and reduce the cost of communication services across 16 countries. Let's build on this. We can and we must do more. On food security, we know that Africa can feed itself, and in climate-smart ways. We can build on the Regional Food System Resilience Program and our growing support to the private sector for locally produced fertilizer and local and sustainable crops. On social protection, one of the many lessons from COVID-19 was how important it is to have a strong targeting and delivery system to help the most vulnerable to build resilience to shocks, whether they be from pandemics, conflict, or climate. We accelerated the use of established cash transfer systems to reach more than 50 million people, 10% of the total regional population. We also supported about 20 million farmers and pastoralists with urgent agricultural inputs. The investments that you have all carried out to build robust delivery and targeting systems means that more can now be done to help the most vulnerable. Let's do it. These examples show that transformation and impact at scale is possible if countries decide to create the conditions to convert opportunities into transformational accomplishments on key development priorities. We find a great example of such commitment here in Nigeria, where the government has removed the gasoline subsidy and is addressing exchange rate distortions. The role of the World Bank is more important than ever. We exist in order to work with you hand in hand toward the best achievable results for the long-term prosperity of your countries. IDA's financing to Sub-Saharan Africa has grown from about $2 billion in 2000 to $10 billion in 2010 to $28 billion this year. And our support is here to stay. IDA provides long-term predictable concessional financing to deliver on a long-term agenda. During the current IDA 23-year cycle, we estimate that around $44 billion will go to country allocations in Sub-Saharan Africa. In addition to this amount, significant amounts are also provided through specialized windows, including to work on prevention of conflict and to support regional integration. The growth in IDA allocations means that it now constitutes more than 1/3 of total overseas development assistance. In fragile and conflict-affected countries, we contribute more than 40% of overseas development assistance. But we can and should do more, and we need to do it faster. This is why we are on the move for a significant transformation that will deliver impact at scale for Africa in support of regional development priorities. A better and bigger bank offers a unique opportunity to further scale our support and strengthen our partnership. You, our clients, are asking for this. It's not easy to raise funding out there, I will be very honest, but IDA delivers. I was in Norway 2 weeks ago and I made the case. IDA is the single largest source of concessional resources for the lowest income countries. It also is the single largest provider of climate finance in lowest income countries, including for adaptation. And these types of arguments help resonate, but your voice is even more compelling than mine. So counting on your support, and you can count on ours. Thank you so very much.
This meeting is really a gathering of the World Bank, led by the Managing Director for Operations, Anajada, and the finance ministers of West Africa and Central Africa. And it's essentially a meeting to discuss the major financing round that is coming up with the World Bank, major concessional, cheap funding for the West Africa and Central African countries and the poor countries in general. And this is focusing on what they call the International Development Association. So we're here to discuss that funding. We're here to discuss electricity access. We're here to discuss social safety nets, digitization, and generally the major issues that affect poor countries and the major role that the World Bank as a trusted development partner can play.